You are listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with a global soul. Our theme music is a clip of Summer Nights by the Eric Jones Trio. It's provided by our friend Mark Chesanout, who plays with the Eric Jones Trio every Thursday and Sunday at Good Times Jazz Bar downtown.
We're on Art on the Air today, and we're talking with Bobby Bagley.
Yes.
We're here with Bobby Bagley. And
it's me, Tamara.
And Tamara Garvey, of course. And I'm David Laughlin. Hey, stumbling into another interview. And Bobby is currently at Gallery 10 at Savannah City Market, upstairs.
Gallery 11 now.
Is it Gallery 11? Okay.
You've gone up a number?
Yes.
Yeah.
Across the way.
Where in City Market can we find you? What side?
South
Gallery
building.
11, upstairs. Once you get up the stairs, take a left.
Okay.
Then a quick right.
So are you no longer in the co-op gallery?
No.
You got your own?
I got my own.
All right.
Oh, no, he's got his own.
Which is sort of a co-op. I mean, I have
well, you have some other people.
10 other artists in there with me. I brought a few with me. A few has added since, but yeah.
That must be a big space.
It is a big space.
Okay. David, do you want to
build it up?
Do a bio on Bobby?
As far as I know, because he's very reclusive and keeps to himself a lot.
Yes.
You were, let's say, what's the word? A military brat?
I was.
Right? In Arkansas?
Mostly? Born in Warner Robins, Georgia, near Macon. Moved to Arkansas, 3rd grade, and stayed there for a long time through college.
Mostly on the base?
Mostly on the base. Nice environment. Sort of, I mean, the South, but
it's
not
a beautiful
the South.
environment.
Yes.
Arkansas is. It really
well,
is.
On the base is not really Arkansas. It was like an environment.
Its own world.
Well, on the base is what I was going to say, too, is that is...
Not that Arkansas is bad.
Oh, no, I understand.
But
it's sort of being in a bit of a bubble.
Absolutely.
And being in the South, as they say, even though I don't know, Arkansas is sort of a midpoint. I don't know.
It's the South.
It's more like, is it like Rust Belt kind of, right?
Yeah, it's the South.
Okay. But that's sort of a bubble, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you from near one of those towns where I know Arkansas has a lot of both hot springs and sort of old Victorian haunted hotels?
No.
That's what I know of Arkansas.
We were Blywood, Arkansas. It was up in the northeastern corner, probably about an hour outside of Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
So Memphis was the closest city.
Wow, that's so remote.
Yeah.
I can identify.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. So, like I say, when it's a bubble within a bubble, it's like you develop your own world there.
Well, it was a bunch of kids from all over the world, all over the country, thrown together.
Right.
And it was actually pretty wonderful. And we were in this safe environment.
Right.
And we were just sort of forced to get to know each other, forced to get along, and
this is how humans interact, I guess. Then is
wonderful.
it?
Yep.
Yeah. So
it sounds almost like a throwback to an older time. That kind of.
It was,
childhood.
and because of being on the base, and I say it wasn't really the South because it was all different shades, all different.
It was a base.
Yes, but there were certain rules that applied to airmen. That environment was, different than what was going on outside of the base.
Was art encouraged?
Art was not encouraged.
Was it discouraged?
No, it just wasn't even talked about. I mean, we played basketball, we went fishing, we went bowling, we did stuff, but it wasn't a real creative environment.
Right.
That's such an idyllic sounding life, though.
I know, we rode our bikes, which is reflected in some of my work.
Yeah.
So it was just sort of a nice bubble to be under.
Well, I was reading about the lady who told you to start doing your own work.
Yes.
Start paying from your own life.
Yes.
Which you do beautiful work.
Thank you.
I've got to say. I was just looking at the one American Mule.
Mm-hmm.
And I was almost jealous. That was just It really struck me. I don't know why.
Can you describe it?
It's a mule.
For those of us listening on the radio.
I can tell my bit, but I think he knows more because you painted it. But it's a beautiful, 36 by 36, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
How well do I remember this stuff? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful black mule. It's just striking side profile of the whole animal.
Yeah.
It's my take on 40 Acres and a Mule. I love to take black history and just tuck it into this work, and walking past the rooster, walking past American Mule, walking past my little picnic painting.
Yeah.
You would never know that those pieces are dripping with black history.
Yeah. But also your history.
Also
personally.
my history. And if you see them, it was the environment that I grew up in. The bushes are nice and neat.
You can be pretty meticulous.
Everything is like the sun is out.
It's like a perfect Mayberry kind of.
It's like that bubble that I grew up under. But living in the South, I like tucking in these Southern stories too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you find a lot of people see the little hidden things and get them?
Most people don't.
Yeah.
If you see a rooster, one of my pieces, Flint River Farms, you see a rooster sitting on a fence. Nothing about that painting says black art or, black history. If you dig deeper into the title, then it's going to take you to Flint River Farms, which was a black farm in Middle Georgia. So the title sort of leads you down the road.
Led you down the road to make it.
Yeah, for me, the composition, story, color, those are the most important things for my work. That's where it starts. And usually it's the story or the title that starts first. And then I sort of build the image around that.
That's almost exactly what I was going to ask you about, too. And I sort of hated to ask you about it.
What's that?
Is your journey to make these pictures, do they usually begin with memory, or do sometimes they just come to you and you have to do it?
No. For me, if I read a story, if I see a picture, if I talk to my grandfather or my grandmother, or if I see something that they have, like one of the pieces is Come Sunday, the lady holding the purse. It's my grandmother's purse. And the story behind that piece is that we used to joke, my sister and my cousins and I, about everything in that purse got us through church. And church to us was not this 50-minute Sunday morning thing. It was this all day through noon, early afternoon Sunday thing. And inside that purse was this hard wooden brush, hard candy, and tissue. And those three things got us through church. She would pop us with that brush if we sort of got out of line. She would give us hard candy.
Rightfully so, Grandma.
And the tissues took care of everything else.
Oh my gosh.
After she whacked you with the brush.
Yes. So that's sort of where the painting started. It started with me seeing that purse want to tell a story about Sunday morning. So
that's a beautiful image. I mean, just that you spoke it.
I like your titles. I like titles that are like not descriptive of the image, but it's sort of 1 degree removed. It's a little bit of
leads you into
joke.
Leads you into it.
Yeah.
Maybe put you on a road. Where is he going?
The title is sort of a feeling about the painting.
A feeling.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to paint mostly.
Right.
A feeling. The piece of the little girl holding the Easter basket with the Easter eggs started out as a full picture of my sister, but I sort of chopped the top and chopped the bottom, and I was trying to paint a feeling. I wasn't trying to paint my sister, and sometimes people say, hey, why don't you put faces? And I do put faces in some paintings. Why don't you put faces in some of your paintings? Because I'm trying to paint a feeling.
There's the thing I did notice a lot of the eyes are always covered with the brim of a hat.
Because I'm not painting Sally or Miss Susie or I'm trying to paint a feeling.
Do you think like the bottom part of a face is kind of, it doesn't immediately give a person away, but if you showed the eyes, then that would be the thing?
I think sometimes if you show the eyes, the viewer starts thinking about who is that, who is he painting. But if you don't show the eyes, then maybe they sort of fall into that feeling.
It leaves
of
it open.
Painting. Yes.
Much open.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Okay.
Can I get back? A minute ago you were talking about a painting that had a rooster. What does the rooster signify?
There was some black and white pictures I saw. Flint River Farms.
Okay. Where is this?
Middle Georgia,
right.
Macon, Warner Robins area. And I was looking at some black and white pictures. In one of the pictures, back in the background, there was a fence and a rooster sitting on the fence. And that's it. And that made me want to tell that story. It made me want to look more into Flint River Farms. But when I was thinking about the composition of a painting, that is sort of what caught my attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Sparked.
Yes.
Yeah. That makes sense too.
And it gave me an opportunity to put a ton of detail in a painting, which I like.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Detail.
I was going to remark on that. You're very meticulous on some of these things, and that sort of leads back to also when you were. I've read about this that when you were starting out, and the lady told you to do your own stories. That really, because you are self-taught. Mostly?
Well, you have a BA, don't you?
Yes.
Well, I mean, but you were, even though you were on the base,
Yes.
you were beginning to get into drawing and painting at an early age.
Not really.
Okay?
The first painting that I ever did was my freshman year of college.
Really?
Yes.
I think you told me that before, but I kind of blocked it out.
I mean,
It's hard to
It
believe.
was so shocking.
Yeah.
no one ever. I've always known I wanted to be an artist. It's just the weirdest thing. I've always known I was going to be a painter, but I never painted. No one ever said, "Hey, let's little Bobby
Well,
some
you gotta build up.
paints." And it wasn't that kind of environment that I grew up in.
Sure.
But once I got to college, I knew I was going to be a painter. I just had to sort of figure it out.
So you started from freshman year on, you were taking art
Yes.
classes?
Yes.
Yeah. And you went to school in Arkansas?
University of Central Arkansas. It is about 30 minutes outside of Little Rock.
What was that like suddenly being around a lot more people than your bubble?
Yeah, suddenly the world.
It was good. The art program there, the painting department wasn't great, but
But they had supplies.
they had supplies. Finally, I had a canvas. And
You
some
could
paint.
experiment with that.
But I ran into some other professors, my ceramic professor, my sculpture professor, who drilled technique, which I carried on to the
It's the
painting classes.
I just had a vision of the Kung Fu master telling him to
Yes.
paint the walls
Yes.
of his house. Yes, just
Yes.
keep doing it.
So,
You had a Mr. Miyagi type of training?
I wished I'd remembered that name. Very
Okay.
good, thank you.
but process and technique is important to me. With my artist friends, I always bring up the idea that art doesn't always have to be fun. And it seems like there are some who think that it
What?
should be fun, but it's work.
I'm sorry, I
And
never had that impression.
Yes, and it's work for me because it's hard and it's tedious. And a lot of it is not creative. The composition, color, story, that part of it is creative and exciting. The middle part, where I actually have to do the work, that's not so fun.
Yeah, the rendering.
It's just layers, and I paint inside the lines. I don't paint outside the lines. I don't splatter paint. I just sort of tick my way through.
But here's the thing, that's driving you.
Yes.
That doesn't drive everybody.
No.
Obviously.
No.
And you're doing a careful drawing for each of your pieces, right?
Yeah,
Took you a while to get it.
on the canvas, I draw and erase, and once I start painting, the composition part is done. I don't have to put any thought into it. I mean, everything is there, ready to go, and I just simply fill in the space.
So, I know you feel better working in private, mostly.
Yes.
Right? But you have to be out in public.
Yes.
What you're doing now, especially with the gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Again. How do you adjust? Do you just, I don't know, drink a lot?
No.
Such a specific question.
What I've enjoyed about the gallery is the opportunity to talk about the work.
That makes sense.
Yes. I've shown at galleries for 20 years, and
Excuse me.
I would have art talks, and I would come in and get an opportunity to talk. But I didn't realize this. I thought it was going to drive me crazy. If I'm working on a painting, and someone walks in from, Missouri or California, and I'm in the middle of a painting, the interest that they show or the questions that they have, I've actually liked. And I don't mind the opportunity to talk about it. I'm pretty grateful for it.
Yeah,
Right.
That part is nice. The hard thing is just when you get a stream of people just needing the bathroom key.
Yes.
Well, that's a different situation.
But what you have to do is you have to sort of carve out time where you can actually work. I get there early.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know that I have 3 or 4 or 5 hours to get some work done
Yes.
before.
Right. The mystery happens.
Yes.
I find especially Sundays, if you get there early, the few like customers or tourists who are walking around are actually looking to look at your work and buy things. I think
Yes.
Sunday morning is a nice time.
Yep.
But a lot of your work now, I mean, it's still from your childhood. It's still from, I shouldn't say that. It's not from your childhood. It's from your spirit, really. How locally focused is that? Like for here in Savannah, do you see any of that going on? Did I ask that correctly?
Yes. I'm really still digging into stories from way
You're
back
still
when.
delving in.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of paintings. I probably do about a good year, 10 paintings.
Okay.
Maybe. When I lived in Arkansas, my grandparents lived in Warner Robins, Georgia. And we would travel for the summer from Arkansas to Georgia.
Right.
So I would leave the base, the little bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would spend summers in Georgia around my grandparents and cousins and
I'm just thinking a little hotter environment was all.
but completely different environment.
Sure.
It's like with Southern culture, I almost felt like I was a visitor. Like I was
Yeah.
I would see it, and then I would go back to Arkansas, and that happened over and over and
Different
over
worlds.
and over the years.
Yeah.
Completely different worlds.
I know it's so weird because you're visiting and you're trying to play with local kids, but they don't know you super well. You're only
Yes.
there in the summers.
So once I started, once in college, and I started painting, and the story that you're saying about the lady telling me to paint my own story, I was showing at a gallery in Memphis, Tennessee, George Smith Gallery.
Right.
And I had a show, and the walls I was painting blues musicians and people in the cotton field picking cotton, and these were the images that I were painting. And it's because of artists like George Hunt, who I admired, and he was this blues artist, and Benny Andrews. He was an artist actually from Georgia, and he painted. He was a collage artist, and it was all these farm field, collage paintings, and so I was painting paintings of the artists that I loved. And I had this show, and I was this young 20-year-old something artist, and the lady that you were talking about, older black lady, said, what do you know about these cotton pieces? What do you know about these blues
Calling
pieces?
you out.
Yes. Then I said, nothing really. I explained to her that I loved George Hunt and I loved Benny Andrews. And she said, I hope that one day you find your own story to paint. So
Wow.
yes.
That's like,
Out of the blue.
It's perfect timing. If
Yes.
somebody came along and said that to you at the right time,
Planted a seed.
I mean, it seemed like that must have been ready to take off.
Yep. But then I started thinking about my own story, and I really didn't have anything to say. Because I was thinking, and I was thinking that that good art was sort of built on hard times, sacrifice.
You have to suffer.
Yeah, and I hadn't experienced any of that. So.
Okay.
But even now, I sort of think about what is my story.
But that's the beauty of all that.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own stories. They have their own backgrounds that the good artists I'm
Yes.
talking about, that they bring out something from that to present in their own way. And you just really connected to your own individuality.
Yes, and my environment, those travels to Georgia, the stories that my grandparents and my grandfather and
all that,
shared with me,
right.
stuff that I sort of picked up just hearing, and putting all that together, I realized that was my story.
Yeah. Like, so if these paintings that you said you were doing that this woman said isn't your story, and it was more like country roads and farmland and chickens and things, was
Yes.
that like you were sort of experiencing that through your grandparents, but it wasn't your
I hadn't connected
overwhelming
it
thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't put it together. I mean, I was so focused on trying to get better as an artist.
Well, the details.
Yes.
Yeah.
Staring at George Hunt's work, staring at Benny Andrews' work, sort of chasing them, just trying to learn how to paint still.
Is the environments and the landscapes in your paintings now it kind of seems like a mixture of this like country environments and then these sort of idyllic, just like suburban, with hedges and fences and single family homes. It's like a mix of these two kind of environments.
On the base, the hedges had to be perfect. The grass had to be cut weekly. Mm-hmm. Everything had to be nice and neat. It is the environment that I grew up in.
Yeah, it's a little Pleasantville looking.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know.
Do you like sort of an undercurrent of like this sort of perfect looking suburban environment, but then things rumbling underneath?
Story-wise, yes. I mean, for me, looking at the South, I mean, good and bad. And I paint both. I mean, in the pieces, Remembering Memphis is a piece that was recently at Telfair, and it's about a girl who my wife's a school teacher, and she taught in Memphis. And once we moved to Savannah, we're in the front yard one day, and we had only been here a few years, so we still had the news on the phone sort of set to, Memphis,
What year did you move here?
We've been here 12 years.
Okay.
13 years. So we saw this story about a little girl who was shot and killed on the playground at the very school my wife taught at. And once we were here, we used to make sort of jokes, and people would say, hey, y'all just moved from Memphis. We'd be like, oh, just got out of there alive, and chuckle and laugh about it. And it stopped being funny once we realized, because Memphis, I mean, at the time, and even now, it was not the safest place. But you sort of look back on those stories, and, the whole getting out of Memphis alive stopped being funny.
Yeah, the dark humor was not
funny anymore.
Yeah, it's too dark.
And so I tell stories about those situations too.
That's life.
Yep.
That is life. But I fully understand, because it was sort of, that's where I think we share something though, is I was sort of in a bubble myself.
Yeah, you came from a really rural childhood.
Very rural, and then the island. So yeah, we were just, and then to come here.
And that would be Key West for people who don't know what island?
We're not.
When you say the island, there's a lot of islands, David.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I always think, everybody's different. And this is why it's interesting to hear different perspectives on what you do. And how you've evolved with it is when I was going over I had to look and review as best I could. And you don't have much online, man. It's like, you need a bigger online presence, but...
Do you not like doing that kind of thing? Photographing and uploading and tweaking?
I don't, but it is necessary.
Unfortunately, it is. This is the world we're in now.
For a long time, I had and I was lucky. I was with Morris Whiteside. Used to be a gallery in Hilton Head. So for 10 years, I would just simply paint at home and deliver the pieces to Morris Whiteside, and I didn't have to deal with any of that other stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Right.
They would just take everything you had and sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And so I was able to just sort of focus on my work. As far as putting stuff online, they took care of all of that. So
Yeah.
I just worked.
Let me ask you about that particular thing, too. Because what I read was that you drove up there with your works in a car.
Yes.
And just, told them to come out and look at it? Or did you take them in?
Well, I was driving
Was it a complete cold call is what I'm asking?
It was. But
Really?
I was driving to another gallery, one that was at the time at the mall, that somebody had got in touch with me. Hey, bring your work up here and show it. Then once I got there, I realized that
No. We've all done this.
It was literally at a mall?
Yeah, it was at a mall.
Okay.
So I went to the Chamber of Art right there in Hilton Head.
Right.
And I said, hey, what's the best gallery around here? I had a car full of paintings. And they said, Morris Whiteside, it's right up the road.
Just like that.
Just like that. So I walked in, and Ben Whiteside was one of the owners at the time. And I walked in, I said, hey, I'm an artist and I would like to show you some work. And he said, bring them in, line them on the wall, let's take a look, because he loved art.
Damn.
And I just got lucky.
No kidding.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
It's the kind of thing they always say not to do, to just go cold call on
Those
someone.
are not the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it led to a
Well,
relationship
let's see if it
for
works. Do.
10 years. I mean, we worked together.
That's very cool.
And it was
And
good.
then they could like move all of your paintings.
Yeah.
That's wild. We actually have to take a little station break right now, but this is good. We'll get back to this after our break. Again, we're with Bobby Bagley with Art on the Air. We'll see you in a minute.
You are listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with a global soul.
Trees are one of Chatham County's most treasured natural resources. Beyond their beauty and cultural significance, the impact of trees are far-reaching and compounding, spanning from economic benefits to health improvements to climate change resilience. Trees are woven into every aspect of our lives. Savannah Tree Foundation protects and grows Chatham County's urban forest through tree planting, community engagement, and advocacy. More information is available at savannahtree.org. This portion of WRUU's programming is brought to you by listeners and by Brighter Day Natural Foods. Brighter Day Natural Foods has been serving Savannah's healthy food and supplement needs since 1978. It is located at the corner of Bull Street and Park Avenue. They have online ordering and curbside delivery available, and now a walk-up window for smoothies, juices, and sandwiches from the deli. They are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. More information can be found at brighterdayfoods.com.
What does it mean when we say that WRUU is a community radio station? It doesn't just mean that we invite the community to create programming, and it doesn't just mean that we're a voice for the community. It also means that we're counting on the community to keep us going, and you are the community. Almost all of our modest budget comes from small annual or monthly donations from listeners like you. You get to enjoy our community-focused programming because many others have stepped forward to do their part. Now do your part by joining our community of listener donors. Go to WRUU.org right now and make a one-time or monthly donation. And thank you for supporting Savannah's community radio station, 107.5 FM.
I thought that was part of it. How do you think it's going so far, Bobby?
Are we recording?
We are, but we
Yes,
can cut
we
it
are.
out.
It is going great.
It is going immensely.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back to Arts on the Air. This is David Laughlin and Tamara Garvey, and we're talking to local painter Bobby Bagley. And we were speaking of your success for 10 years at a particular gallery in Bluffton. How I'm curious about, it seems so amazing just to be able, for your output to just be at home painting and then just one particular gallery to take all your work and be able to sell it. What do you think it was about, like, that your work was just moving so well in this one environment?
Before that, I worked for a long time. I worked on technique. I worked on the work. I mean, I put a lot of long nights in just painting.
Yeah.
And I didn't sort of reach out to try to sell the work until I was confident that the work was good. So.
Right.
While you were working on this, were you working?
I was.
Anything special? Did anything special that would influence your work?
No.
Okay.
No. Just sort of working to be able to paint.
I understand. I fully understand.
Working to, until I felt I was at a point where I could sell my work. I've always sort of prided myself in being able to look at a painting that I did and knowing if it was good or not.
Sure. Your people skills are great, so it must have been something like that. But that was also partly due to growing up in this area that you were, because everybody got along. There was no reason to,
I try to be pleasant, David.
Well, it's not just pleasant, but outgoing and open.
Were you? I read in one interview that so your wife is a school teacher and you
Yes.
have a child.
Yes,
Were you-
8-year-old son.
Were you the stay-at-home parent for a while then?
I was.
Okay. So how'd you?
The whole 10 years that he's 8, so I was home before that.
Yeah.
But that was part of it too. I didn't sort of reach out and try to get a working space outside of the house because I was at home working with Brooks. Yes.
Was he just? Were you like on the floor trying to keep him entertained while you were painting?
He was good he's such a low key, creative kid. So it wasn't, he wasn't, even though he was going 100 miles an hour, it was sort of easy to sort of contain him for short periods of time to try to get some work done. Yes.
That seems amazing with a toddler.
Yes.
Good for you.
That is work in itself.
And your the relationship with that one gallery, it kind of came to a close about the content of your work. You guys had a difference about what you wanted to paint.
Yes. And that's the business side of art, which I understand. If they have an artist who has sort of been consistently painting certain subject matters for, almost 10 years.
Forever.
And I got to a point where I wanted to tell different stories, sort of get off the track that I was at, and
Expand and develop.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I just don't think that it sort of fit into their sort of creative mindset at the time.
It happens.
Was it like you brought them a new batch of paintings and they said, we don't want
I
to show
brought
these?
them one painting in particular, and it was almost done, and they were concerned about what their
Clientele.
would say,
Sure.
which
Of course, that's their job.
upset me.
and that's your job.
Yes.
That's those things happen.
Yes.
In the gallery world, that's yeah, sure, it's understandable. Because when you say commercial, it's not commercial. I don't see your work that way. It's much more in depth.
I guess if people aren't getting the Black History Easter eggs you put in it, that it could be read just as the surface, and there were certain people who were buying them just based on that type of thing.
Well, I think people were buying the work that were all, sunshines and rainbows. But once I started telling different stories, they felt that.
Well, a lot of times people project themselves into paintings about something that might not even be from you.
And that happened.
A lot.
And that was part of it too.
Yeah.
They would see a piece and read into it what the piece was not saying. And
Right.
I think it had a lot to do with what they were watching and
Whatever input they had in their
Yes.
head. Yeah.
Do you have an
sure.
example of that? That sounds interesting.
Well,
not really.
Okay.
yeah, because that's their vision, not yours. I fully understand this.
Yes.
Well, I didn't know if the gallery owner was one of these people who was.
Who was projecting? No, I don't
She
think
was.
that was it? Okay.
Yes.
Well, too bad.
I'm very intuitive, David.
That's obviously. I knew you were going to say that. So now, though, and you come over to City Market, and you said you were there before, like
Yes.
what, 13 years ago?
Yep.
And now you're at City Market again. And now you still have I don't know, it's sort of the same question I asked before, but it's when people come in and they start projecting their ideas before you can tell them what the pictures are about.
And that's fine.
I mean, there's some interesting reactions you can get from there.
Well,
And it might be something that you wouldn't even think of, but it would be okay, but it would just be a different level.
which has happened.
Right,
Yes, different perspective.
right. It's
Yep,
not
something that I thought
necessarily a bad thing.
No, something that I thought was obvious, and they sort of see it from a different angle, and I thought it was interesting.
Sure.
I'm curious, so you've been selling in City Market on and off for years now. How, as the years have gone on, do you think it's like, is it easier making your living there? Is there more people looking for art? Has it gotten worse over time? I'm curious about how Savannah's changed in that way.
I have been back for a little over a year, and I have found that there's a sort of I'm 10 years apart. There was a
I was
10-year
going to say,
gap.
that's
Yeah.
a really big difference
Yeah,
when you were
yeah,
there before
crazy
between
about-
now.
So I'm still showing outside of City Market. But I've noticed that it's more of a family environment. I have found people who come down there looking for art, looking for a particular kind of art.
Yeah.
I always said that was like the front guard, or when people come to visit Savannah, it's sort of like prerequisite, they got to run through City Market and check that place out too.
Yes.
So that's like one of the first stops.
Yes.
A lot of people, and it also becomes one of the last stops when they decide to come back, and that's when they usually go upstairs.
And it's people from all over the world.
Which is another great thing.
Yes, it is. I mean, I leave my house and I travel 2 miles to the studio, and I'm talking to somebody from
Singapore.
Yes.
Who knows?
So it's been wonderful.
So when you started back a year ago, you were in the Gallery 10, which was a co-op?
I was in Gallery 10. I had recently left Morris Whiteside, which turned into the Red Piano. And I was looking for a place to show. I wanted to get back out. I wanted to find have a working studio. My son is in the 2nd grade, so I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I wanted to just be out working. So I was looking to come back downtown.
So you started in that co-op, and then you moved one room away, and now you're almost like running your own co-op.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Are you in there every day? Do other artists come in there and work too, or are you the one running it?
I am there 5 days a week.
Okay.
And another artist, a photographer, Linda Andrews, She sits on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
That's
so
great.
Every other
Well
day,
covered.
I am there. Yes.
So part of you being there is talking about and selling the other artists' work.
Yes.
Do you think that that's easier to do than talking up your own work? I'm always curious about this. Sometimes it's easier to
To
blow up
promote
other-
someone
yeah,
else than
yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
All of it has been easy because the artists that are in the space are all good artists that we all like each other. They're all,
It is a good atmosphere.
Yes. We've invited people to join who are good artists and who we just naturally get along with. Everybody. So it's easy. You want everybody to be successful.
Yeah.
Making it as an artist is tough. And you sort of want to be...
You need a little community.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do. Looking
A
out
little
for each
support
other.
group
Looking out
thing,
for each
yeah.
other. And you want people to succeed. So that's what we're trying to do.
That's the ideal for a lot of artists. And I know that even though you do a lot, or you have done a lot, while you've been developing your work, you've done it alone and privately because it's easier. But that's why I was wondering if it was much of a transition now that you're out all the time. And it's sort of, I think it may be, would it be influencing your work?
Not necessarily influencing my work, but the transition hasn't been as tough as I thought it would. I spend my days painting and talking about art. Pretty fortunate.
And playing whatever music you want in
Yes.
there.
And
Yeah,
meeting and talking to people who are interested in art.
Who are creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you like to play?
The saddest stuff I can get my hands on.
I heard that. I saw that and I was like, I never
Yes.
noticed it, but okay, yeah.
When I work,
Now, when you say saddest
Yeah,
song,
what is it?
come on.
Do we mean like the
Nothing-
Smiths?
You
Do we
mean,
Well,
no,
sad
I'm
jazz?
thinking a dirge.
nothing upbeat at all.
Okay.
Everything that's
sad
sort of
classical music.
yeah, sad
opera?
classical music, sad soul music, sad
Just
country
sad.
music.
Just rainy day music.
Yes.
Okay.
Sad
That's-
country music is way different than like a dirge, okay?
That is what I like.
Okay.
I'm so curious to come in now and what this atmosphere is like.
So, but most of the time, sad music is on my earbuds.
I have trouble with you describing
No
it that
one
way,
wants
that's
to hear
all.
that.
Oh, so you're not
coming.
playing it.
No, no one wants
Oh,
to hear
I-
that coming into this space.
Oh, I
Right,
don't
right.
know. Well, you might want to, add to the atmosphere that way.
Now, do you like to do you work on one piece at a time, or do you like to juggle multiple things?
Juggle, and that's been one of the cool things about having the space. I usually have about 4 pieces going at a time, and the pieces that I'm not working on, I usually display on the wall with a tag that says unfinished. And I've been fortunate enough to sell a bunch of unfinished pieces. People come in, I finish
that.
them.
I can
of
see
course.
it.
People come in and they see a piece that's unfinished, they like it, and
It has a
they-
bit of the rawness
yes,
to it.
They
That's-
want it,
yeah, sure.
and it goes on the easel next, and I finish it.
yeah.
So
that.
that's been sort of cool.
They can see where it's being developed too,
They can.
and they trust your judgment.
Yes, and they sort of feel like they're a part of it, and I think
Right.
that's been
That
Oh,
makes-
yeah.
that's been
They stake their claim to it.
yes. So
At
that's
least
happened
As long
a
as
few
they don't
times.
stand over your shoulder while you're
No.
doing it. No.
No,
Nah, they don't say add a little chicken.
No,
right
a
there
little
in the
blue
corner.
right there, would
But
you?
Usually they're
No,
from
put a couch there.
Usually they're from far, far away.
Okay.
And we finish and we ship it to them.
Nice, beautiful.
Do you make prints of your work?
I do make prints.
Okay.
No, you
Yes.
should videotape some of that though. Really,
I know it's like everybody does it. I'm trying.
just a little
The,
bit.
the whole social media part of it is just tough.
Yeah, you don't Instagram
But the
too often,
idea
do
that
you?
someone would come in, if you ever get sorry.
That you don't post on Instagram super often. do
Just
you?
images of the paintings.
Okay.
Well-
not process.
Right.
I don't do the spin and show.
Do you have sales of people reaching out to you from elsewhere, or is it all literally just they come into City Mark and they're buying it face to
No,
face?
reaching out from elsewhere. I mean, over the years, espally with through Morris
I was gonna
Whiteside,
say,
we
you've
sold
got an
established
We
clientele.
sold a lot of paintings.
Okay.
I showed at in Memphis for years. I showed at a gallery in Little Rock for years.
Yeah.
So
But this seems hard to get back, like, since you don't have this full website with all these images, it seems like it's
sort of getting
hard to
back
show
into.
people.
Well,
We're giving you a real hard time about
no,
this.
I'm sort of, but I'm building up to it.
I'm kind of curious how you're able to do it.
I'm sort of getting back into the groove.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's going to be the next part of the studio. Expanding out, having an online presence.
Yeah.
all
Sometimes
that
people
fun
just like
stuff.
to see a little snippet of the work in progress. And the idea of somebody picking out an unfinished one and then you finishing it, I would love to see a bit of that done.
It seems like I should transition that to online.
Just
yeah,
a
it's
little.
true. If people are doing
Yes.
that face to face, then you could post an unfinished on Instagram. You never know.
Yes, you know.
I mean, you don't have to go full bore and being an influencer.
No, I think I'm actually gonna. I'm gonna open up to it. I think.
Yeah.
Why not?
Do you? So
Really?
when you're juggling 4 or so at a time, I do this too, and I'll do like small series. Are they all in the same kind of vein that you're working on together? Like there's an idea and you're doing, or are they all?
Sort
not
of, they're
related?
all over the map.
Okay.
I'll work on a piece for a week. The paintings, well, I'll paint slow, so my paintings take a long time. I'll work on the paintings for a week. I'll get tired of staring at it, and I'll rotate another one in for a week, then another one in for a week. So.
And size-wise, are you kind of really varied?
Really varies. Since I've been down at City Market, I've worked smaller scale. In the past, it's always been 36 by 36 or bigger.
I like squares too.
But I've enjoyed doing smaller paintings. It's nice to start a painting and finish a painting in what I consider a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
It's a short story instead of an opera.
Yes, instead of something that drags on for months.
Yeah,
which
just
they
that
usually do.
feeling of being done with something is
Yes.
really nice.
So that's been nice.
That's always the trick, is knowing when to stop.
And I would have never done that if I wouldn't have been in the City Market, because for me it was always about big painting. Well, a big painting to me is 36 by 36.
Yeah.
It's always been about big paintings,
Sure.
telling what I consider big stories.
There's different ways to tell stories, though.
Yes.
So I think you're experimenting a little. I think you're going to experiment some more. I just get this feeling.
But the business side of it is being able to paint a piece that someone maybe can sort of take with them. Pick it up, take it off the wall, and they can carry it out with them too. So that's been part of it.
Sure.
Studio.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I said sometimes you just need a short story and there. It's good.
Now,
People can appreciate a moment.
If people want to look at your work, you kind of mentioned briefly that there's places outside of City Market that you also are displaying your work too.
Well, mainly there is, but most of the work now is all at the studio. I have more paintings at the studio in one place than I've ever had.
Right.
Just trying to figure out what the next step is going to be.
There was one piece
That's
that I saw. I wanted to ask. It was called Homegoing, and it was a crowd of people in a cemetery, and they all are from behind, and everyone's clothes are black and white, and they all have black umbrellas, and you can't see any faces. I wonder if you could talk about that one.
That painting was done 20 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was a series of paintings. And the series consisted of bright colored clothes. Of all the people in the homegoing painting, you can find in the other paintings. In the homegoing painting, it was the last painting of that series.
Sounds like
so it went from everyone being in these bright colors to everyone sort of sending someone that they loved.
I've never
home.
heard that phrase, homegoing.
Yes.
Did you do that? Did you pick that up somewhere?
Grandparents.
I guess so.
Those trips to Georgia.
Okay.
Yes.
I've just never heard that before. I'm surprised.
A homegoing.
Wow.
Was that from a particular funeral or?
No, it's
The progression
Yeah.
of the previous ones.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Oh, it was really striking.
Now I'm curious to see them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See. Do you have prints?
I have images that not prints, but I do have images that I can dig out.
Good.
Yep.
You probably have, I'm guessing, you probably have a trove that is not out there.
No, I've done a terrible job of documenting paintings.
Yeah, I have too. I fully understand.
I joke with my son that hopefully one day he can run around and take pictures of all these paintings that I've sold that I don't have images of.
There's that.
I have done a terrible job of documenting paintings.
Well, you know, it's crazy. So that gallery that you split from, it sounds like they, over the years, have been documenting it.
They have.
So they would have the whole trove of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but before that, the time that I lived in Memphis, the time that I was showing in Little Rock, I've sold a ton of paintings. I mean, we didn't always have the cell phone.
Sure.
You know,
We did not always have a cell phone.
that you can sort of just easily take a picture of. So I didn't.
Yeah.
I should have given it more
Every
thought
now
over
and
the
then I
years.
come across an old actual photograph, as the kids did not call them, of like a mural or something I'd done. I just completely forgot that I'd done it. So,
Do you have a moment where you almost don't recognize it?
Yes.
You don't realize it was yours?
yes,
Interesting.
it takes, because, well, when you do a lot of commercial work, it's like, I might have done that. Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, interesting.
I sold a painting 20 years ago, and last year I had a lady email me with a picture of the painting, asking about the painting.
Wow.
I hadn't.
Wow.
Number one, I had forgot,
Yeah.
but I hadn't seen that image, and
That's what I mean.
Yes.
I fully understand that.
That's
Yeah.
cool. She
Like,
tracked
wow.
you down to ask.
yes.
Did she mention why she'd been living with it for all these years and now suddenly wanted to
Well,
know?
she was about to enter it in the resale market. She was, she was trying to get some information on it.
Wanted
did
to
you-
see, wanted to see if you'd moved to Milan.
Oh my God.
No.
How did you feel about that? That she was reselling it?
I thought it was great.
You didn't mind that she was reselling it?
No, not at all.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be an emotional thing, but maybe I don't know what that means for an artist, like business wise.
I love the business side of art. I love thinking about it. I love the idea of that an artist trying to make a living at this. I'm not put off by it. I think it's great.
Okay.
I think it's great.
I guess my immediate reaction would think, oh, it's insulting that she doesn't want to live with this painting anymore.
No.
But does it kind of more signify that like it's worth something and people are
Yes.
knowing that and making money?
And that there is a resale market for
Yeah.
the work, which is cool.
I haven't had that happen to me yet.
We've come to the point of the show where we have the artist studio questions for you, a few of you.
Yeah.
These are, of course, designed to bring out your deepest personality flaws. Is that okay?
Sure.
Great.
I have one to ask that won't be about his flaw, so
Okay.
I'll lighten it up a little.
No, it's
Thank
not
you.
it. What are some memorable responses to your work?
Southern stories. Sometimes when you're talking about stuff that is tough, hard, that part of the South that is, it's tough,
It's tough.
And when I dive into those stories and I'm talking about a painting to someone who grew up in this area and they sort of relate to it, you can just sort of tell that it's sort of...
They could relate to it.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. If a particular piece of yours could be expressed through another medium, like sound effects or music, what would it be?
That's a
Now,
cool
you've
question.
done blues musician, so I'm thinking right away you're expressing music that way.
But also through the pieces like Come Sunday, or even the Easter piece where the girl's holding the Easter basket. When I'm working, like I said, I do listen to,
Sad
sad
music.
music. I can almost hear it over when I'm looking at those pieces. I can almost.
That makes sense.
So a lot of your pieces feel like sad music?
They
to you?
do. They feel like sad music.
That is the director.
Yes.
That is the impetus. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's just part of it. Yes.
Yes. Very seldom do I do a piece that, would be sort of up tempo.
That's interesting because your colors are very hot and saturated.
sitting at in church, staring at those stained glass windows. That color, trying to sort of chase that color. I was really influenced by stained glass windows. You can take a painting of mine and sort of cut it out with scissors and put it back together like a puzzle. That's my influence from stained glass windows.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're like jewel tones.
Yes.
Colors. Oh, wow.
Paint always inside the lines, nice and clean.
Yeah.
No, but with the light coming through.
Yes,
That makes sense.
Cool.
which is sort of what I'm chasing.
Yeah. You have the light coming
that.
through. That's fun. That makes sense a lot.
So my question was music related. May I ask that? No?
You may.
All right, thank you, David. So I wanted to ask if you were like walking down the street or getting ready to do something and you're trying to jazz yourself up in your head. Do you have sort of a theme song or a beloved song that would play in your head that's like your theme?
One
like
of
it.
the songs that I listen to over and over and over and over and over again when I work is On the Nature of Daylight by Max, I think it's Richter.
Okay.
And I'll put that on a loop for hours.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Something that you could put on a loop and listen to over and over again, that's a theme song.
For hours.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
I've done that before with a Cat Stevens song, just on a loop.
But this is not Cat Stevens. This is kind of this is the other direction.
Days.
No, this song
Maybe
On
it's
Nature of
an earworm,
Daylight.
huh?
It got to the point where my son would come in and be like, "Oh no, come on, not that again."
Not that again.
Well,
Dad!
Yes. So
Yeah.
that's the song.
Okay, thank you. All right, you got about 2 minutes left, David.
Okay, I've got one more then. Is there a creative medium you would like to pursue or pursue further?
I've just started something different. It's not new, it's different. Before each painting, I usually do a quick drawing. And
You meticulously plan it out?
yes.
Huh.
But once I figure out the direction I'm going, I sort of abandon the drawing. But I have tons of these. So I came across them when I was digging around through some stuff. So I pulled them out and I finished a few of them. And so the first one in the studio yesterday.
Really?
Yes. It was from a previous painting.
Did you put it up to see?
Put it up, framed it.
Did you put it on social media to see this?
I did not put it on social media.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to keep hounding you.
I know.
This is a whole collection of rough drawings.
Yes, but
Now I'm curious though. I
pulled
want
it-
to see it. So.
pulled it out and finished it and enjoyed it. So
we'll post some pics, when we
Interesting.
talk you up on Facebook. So
So they're
send us
calling
some
you
images.
back to come finish them now.
yes, they are.
That's what's happening.
And they're something that don't take a month,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which is fun.
Yeah.
And it's revisiting images from earlier paintings, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, especially now you have what, 20 years worth of
Yeah.
images to draw on.
and that's what I'm going
Let's
to be
look
doing.
at it a different
That's
way.
what I'm going to
yeah.
be doing today. Actually, I
good.
have a few that I'm going to just keep
Love that.
digging away at.
Well, don't let us keep you.
Thank you, Bobby. This has been so great to talk to you.
Thank you,
I'm
guys.
sorry I hadn't come over to your side of City Market yet, but now I will.
Thank
I'll come
you.
over. And I'll
Thank
make
you very much for
I'll
coming.
want to hear whatever sad song you're listening to.
It's been
All right.
fun.
As much as it could be.
Yeah. All
For
right.
you.
So
I
what do
could see you were, it was, you're so used to being, working on your own work. I know it's tough to talk about.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate you doing
No,
this.
it was fun. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
And so people can come visit you on the South Side Studios of City Market in
Gallery
11.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Up
This
the
has been-
elevator.
Next up on WRUU, That Old Savannah Magic from 4 to 6 p.m. It's a variety show featuring Savannah history, radio theater, interviews, and music.
You are listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with a global soul.